could safely be on this planet if you hurt her feelings, okay?
Taylor Swift is their personality.
Her TikTok has Morse code in it.
The clock went from pink to orange in Paris. Time has been reset.
Yeah, there are a growing number of people who go to see Taylor Swift on tour, and they're suffering, they say, from amnesia.
Taylor Swift fans fall into three categories: casual fans, Swifties, and cult members. Casual fans are people like your mom. Swifties are your generic pop music fans, and cult members are people unaware that they've entered a parasocial relationship with the artist. For cult members, Taylor Swift is a way of life. They refer to her as mother, regularly discuss how they only listen to her music, and view attending the Eras tour as a pilgrimage for them to make, with many spending whatever it takes to be in the same arena as her, with fans unable to get tickets spending their evening listening to her from the parking lot. These cult members fail to discern what is and what isn't appropriate fan behavior. For example, during Taylor Swift's Eras tour, cult members mobilized on TikTok to print out photos of Taylor Swift's dead grandmother, bring them to the show, and hold them up to Taylor during her concert as their way of honoring Taylor's grandmother's life. However, as with every cult, members inside share a zealous devotion, passionately defending their leader against any criticism or skepticism. And over the years, Taylor Swift's cult members have become notorious for ruthlessly harassing anyone that dare question Mother or speak negatively of her music in the slightest. For example, when Chris Pinella released an article on Business Insider comparing Taylor's Eras tour to Beyoncé's Renaissance tour, cult members immediately began threatening his life, tweeting homophobic slurs at him, and filled his boss's email with fake stories claiming that Chris was a pedophile. The article in question wasn't even negative towards Taylor. It simply stated that it, quote, felt too big for its own good, going on to mention it was an almost 4-hour concert with 2 opening acts, while Beyoncé's show, quote, never missed a beat. The irony here is that lately, many Swifties report not being able to remember Taylor's Era tour show after they return home, with some pointing towards the several hours they spend in line, the more than 40-song setlist, and the almost 4-hour runtime as the reason for this, while some cult members claim that it's actually amnesia induced by extreme positive emotions.
Does anybody else not really remember the Eras tour concert? I thought I was like losing my mind until a friend of mine posted on Instagram who went on Sunday that her and none of her friends can remember it either.
While on the topic of Beyoncé, another common theme within the cult is racism. As Beyoncé's tour overlapped with Taylor's tour, many members took this as an attack on Taylor and began spreading anti-black rhetoric on Twitter, claiming that people of color should avoid the Eras tour and attend Beyoncé's instead, so Taylor's tour is safer and cleaner. There are hundreds, if not thousands of tweets from Taylor Swift fans spreading insane hate towards anyone that isn't white, all in the name of protecting Mother. Regardless, no one is safe from the cult, including minors. When Dave Grohl's 17-year-old daughter tweeted, "Why can't Taylor just drive more?" in reference to her private jet use, cult members began threatening to her, curb stomp her, and murder her. Several months later, her father and Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl took a pot shot at Taylor during one of his concerts, where he pointed out her use of backing tracks, leading to cult members posting gore of his former bandmates and friends, Kurt Cobain and Taylor Hawkins, even blaming Dave for their deaths, while also wishing death upon Dave. Some fans speculate that Dave made his comment about backing tracks just to take the heat away from his daughter, as cult members had been sending death and threats to her for 5 months by this point. This isn't even the first time cult members have threatened minors, as when Scooter Braun purchased Taylor Swift's former record label, Big Machine, some started threatening to his children. But it doesn't stop there. Taylor Swift, as an artist, tends to follow a cycle where she starts dating someone, fans become obsessed with their relationship, and then she breaks up with them, detailing how poorly they treated her. This is a great example of the difference between Swifties and cult members. While Swifties get caught up in Taylor's relationships the same way people get caught up in any celebrity relationship, cult members take the breakups personally and feel a deep desire to protect their 34-year-old leader by harming her exes as much as humanly possible. For example, after Taylor broke up with Maddie Healy, the cult went after his mom, after she replied to a tweet that said, "Not everything is about Taylor Swift," with a laughing emoji. Fans began tweeting at 66-year-old Denise Welch, calling her a stupid hag, wishing death upon her, and making predictions on when she and her son Maddie will die. The same exact thing happened with her previous boyfriend Joe Alwyn. Following the announcement of Taylor's latest album, The Tortured Poets Department, Joe immediately began receiving hate online for how he must have hurt Taylor, as it was safe to assume the album would follow Taylor's typical cycle of leaving a relationship, then releasing an album about how horrible it was. This led to months of harassment from the cult, attacking not just Joe, but his castmates and coworkers too, regularly leaving snake emojis in their comments with vague threats alluding to the release of The Tortured Poets Department. Most of what the cult hates about Joe, besides Taylor leaving him, is that he keeps his personal life private, and while Taylor was dating him, she slowed down sharing everything about her life too. Because of this, cult members began fabricating elaborate stories in their heads about how Joe must be controlling and abusive towards Taylor behind the scenes. Some even created an alternate reality in their head where Taylor Swift had to continue touring while dealing with the breakup despite wanting to die because the economy depended on her. Ironically, all of this harassment left cult members in shambles once The Tortured Poets Department dropped, and it was seemingly about Maddie, not Joe, the person they had been harassing as part of the album's rollout for the past 2 months. However, in the eyes of the cult, nobody is safe, not even the ex-girlfriend of Taylor's future ex-boyfriend, Travis Kelce. There is an entire swiftie Discord server dedicated to stalking and making fun of Travis Kelce's ex-girlfriend, Kayla Nicole, and in the past couple of weeks, neutral Taylor Swift fans have successfully infiltrated the private server and have been posting their findings on snark subreddits like Travis and Taylor. This server is full of hateful, vitriolic young Taylor Swift cult members scouring the internet for photos of Kayla to share and insult with the group. Most of the insults boil down to Kayla and her family not having as much money as Taylor does, while mocking the color of her skin, her weight, her hairline, the size of her hands, and saying that she looks like a man, while claiming she must be jealous because Taylor is so beautiful, talented, successful, rich, and kind. The level of disillusion within the server is difficult to grasp, as their statements read more like fanfiction or headcanon than reality, even going on to suggest that Brittany Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes' wife, is doing better since Travis Kelce replaced Kayla Nicole with Taylor Swift. Speaking of fanfiction and delusions of grandeur, the behavior exhibited by these cult members is more in line with QAnon followers than your standard pop music fan. For example, they regularly claim to find clues about what's really happening with Taylor, suggesting that a line in her song about Scout's honor is actually about how Travis uses his hands in bed to please her, and that she's secretly writing spy novels under a pseudonym.
Is Taylor Swift writing spy novels under the pseudonym Ellie Conway? So this is the first Instagram post that is on Ellie Conway's Instagram. It's announcing her book Argyle coming out in summer 2023, but she posted that on the 13th of December 2022. Now, Ellie Conway is also a name of a character on the Australian soap Neighbours. Ellie Conway, the Neighbours character, first appeared on Neighbours on the 13th of December 2001. And guess who was born on the 13th of December? Taylor.
Some of these theories start to feel less like theories at all and start resembling schizophrenia, as cult members are regularly combining arbitrary dates and numbers until they total 13, and then they use that as evidence that either a new song, album, music video, or tour date is going to be announced.
August 5th is exactly 175 days after the release of The Joker and the Queen, which, as you can see here, adds to 13.
But the clock went from pink to orange in Paris. Time has been reset.
Rigor mortis is the 4th stage of death after you die. So 2 hours after the album is already out.
So the fact that she has intentionally said fall and then autumn is very, very interesting to me.
What if she's been writing a book and she's going to release said book in 2 years?
1, 1, 2, you get 13, so 11 plus 2. And that brings us to October 27th. Taylor is playing in New Orleans. That is where she will release Rep TV.
Some have even taken it to new heights and convinced themselves that the punctuation in the auto-generated captions of Taylor Swift's social media posts is actually Morse code that she's using to secretly communicate with her biggest fans.
Hi guys, I just wanted to show you all the research we've been doing. We went all the way back to her very first TikTok on 8/25/21, her very second TikTok, 8/25/21. Her first one says, "Let the games begin." Her second one has Morse code in it. And these are all the TikToks that Taylor has posted that have Morse code in them. This is me trying to figure them out. Again, I'm not the best at this.
Cult members find clues in everything, including colors used in videos displayed on screens at her concerts.
I think I know what these gold nails mean. There's only two things in the entire Swift universe that I can absolutely definitively say have gold. The first one being this damn vault, and the second one is these stacks of gold bars in stacks of 6 in a pyramid at the back of the Look What You Made Me Do vault. Now these stacks represent one thing and one thing only. The grounded TS6 plane, the original Karma concept album. I almost want to be bold enough to say that gold will rain down and overshadow everything that she's accomplished.
And even suggest she uses secret hand signs to communicate secret messages. It seems as if Taylor Swift has surpassed being a musician and has become this ethereal vehicle fans use to project their own fantasy upon, in the same way people write different endings to movies, where the main character ends up with their preferred love interest. Much of the discussion from cult members paints Taylor Swift as less of a person and more of a fictional character like Juliet from Romeo and Juliet.
Here's my theory. This is her actual wedding dress, and the Willow music video. The Willow music video will just be footage from their wedding.
However, even Swifties aren't safe from the cult, as cult members routinely bash Swifties for not being as devout of a fan as they are, pointing to their vast Taylor Swift collections as some sort of rank that makes them closer to Taylor and as a result, better than them. Taylor and her team have weaponized these cult members to keep her in the charts and make hundreds of millions of dollars extra from merch sales, as they know they can count on them to buy everything she releases in order to feel closer to her. The most egregious example of this are the constant variants she has released of her most recent album. Up until 2016, music sales were straightforward. One album sale equaled one album sold. The RIAA, the organization that tracks music sales, also awards artists for crossing certain milestones. The 3 milestones are gold, which commemorates 500,000 sales, platinum for 1 million sales, and diamond for 10 million sales. However, as people stopped buying albums and streaming started to take off, the RIAA was forced to start counting streams towards sales, and their approach since 2016 is as follows. 1 album sold equals 10 song purchases equals 1,500 streams. This means every time a song from an album is streamed 1,500 times, the RIAA counts it as an album sold. The flip side to all of this is that the RIAA still counts physical album sales towards certifications, and because 1,500 streams is the equivalent of 1 album purchase, 1 album purchase is worth 1,500 streams. This is why we've seen a resurgence of physical media in the music industry, with artists across all genres trying to sell you vinyl, CDs, and even cassettes. Every time a physical version of an album is purchased, in the eyes of the RIAA, that artist just received 1,500 streams. Let's do a quick hypothetical. Say an artist releases an album you really like, and you listen to it single 3 times a day, every day, for 1 year. That contributes 1,095 streams towards a certification. But then that artist releases the album on vinyl, so you purchase it to display in your room. And then a few months later, they release a special edition of that same vinyl in a new color, and you purchase that as well. In the eyes of the RIAA, you've contributed 4,095 streams towards an album you've only listened to 1 one song from 1,095 times. The most common way artists double dip their fans is by offering different versions of the same album with slight variations to take advantage of collectors. And so far, Taylor Swift's The Tortured Poets Department is the most egregious example. At the time of this recording, there have been 40 different ways to purchase Taylor Swift's latest album. The breakdown is as follows. There are 4 cassette tapes, 7 vinyl records, 12 CDs, and 17 digital editions. The only difference between these variants are the packaging and the inclusion of one extra bonus track. However, Taylor has gotten some heat online as fans started to notice the peculiar timing some of these variants were released. For example, after having already released 10 special edition digital variants of The Tortured Poets Department on May 17th, 2024, almost 1 month after The Tortured Poets Department was released, Taylor surprised her fans with 3 more special edition versions of the album. Each variant cost $6 and included The Tortured Poets Department and 1 bonus track. The reason Taylor was getting heat for this is because the 3 new variants were released without warning on the same exact day. At the same exact time, Billie Eilish released her long-anticipated album, Hit Me Hard and Soft. Fans were quick to speculate that this was a move to block Billie Eilish from hitting #1 on the charts, as Taylor fans were happy to pick up another version of the same album they already own multiple copies of just to hear the new first draft phone memo, once again contributing another 1,500 streams per purchase in the eyes of the RIAA. Whether or not the goal was really to block Billie Eilish from taking the #1 spot from Taylor, it worked. Hit Me Hard and Soft debuted at #2 on the Billboard 200, only second to Taylor's latest album. This move actually received a bit of backlash from Swifties within the community, as those who also enjoy Billie's music considered the timing of these variants to be petty, while others considered it to be a coincidence. However, just 6 days later, Taylor released 2 more digital variants and a new special edition CD version of the album that features an acoustic version of the song, But Daddy I Love Him. Alongside these 3 new variants, she announced that 4 special edition cassettes of The Tortured Poets Department were also back in stock. However, the pattern continues. 55 days and 40 variants later, Charli XCX's latest album Brat was about to take over the #1 spot on the UK charts, when once again, Taylor Swift released 3 more digital variants of The Tortured Poets Department, except this time, they were released as a UK exclusive. Suspiciously, these variants were only available for purchase until 11:59 that evening, which just so happens to mark the end of tracking week for album charts. These exclusive UK variants made it difficult to believe that these were released for any other reason than to block Charli from taking the #1 spot, as they popped out of nowhere on the last day possible to boost Taylor's numbers. It's worth mentioning that after fans started chanting "Taylor is dead" at a Charli XCX show, Charli immediately took to social media and told everyone to stop, saying, "Can the people who do this please stop, online or at my shows? It is the opposite of what I want, and it disturbs me that anyone would think there is room for this in this community. I will not tolerate it." Charli immediately received praise for this, with many wondering why Taylor couldn't do the same and end the tornado of hate that comes out of her community. However, it's difficult to find the words that describe how ironic it is that a woman whose entire career has been based off of being the small, can-do-no-wrong, polite 34-year-old woman has cultivated one of the most vitriolic, racist, incessant fan bases in music history. And while her cult members continue to spread hate, threats of murder, and Taylor, to date, still hasn't made any comment discouraging the behavior her fanbase has become infamous for. However, the tides are turning, and it's becoming increasingly harder to turn a blind eye towards the cult, with more and more publications and artists beginning to speak out against Taylor Swift and her army of devout followers. It will be interesting to see what the conversation surrounding Taylor Swift is like 20 years from now, and whether or not the conversations will be about her music or the tsunami of hate she accidentally set onto the world.